Ladies and gentlemen, to day 4 of the Razor King of the Beta tournament. We are in the midst of Whitera versus IntoTheRainBOw right now. IntoTheRainBOw miraculously defending that crazy gateway in the main push by Whitera, and Whitera just barely not getting that sentry force field at the front off in time. So the counter push by IntoTheRainBOw was successful. We are currently tied up 1-1 in this series. We will be going into game 2 right now. Once again, huge thanks to Razor for sponsoring this tournament and for creating an awesome new line of peripherals for Starcraft 2. Check them out at razorzone.com, and in particular, check out that new Spectre mouse, one of which I definitely have on back order myself. So, we'd also like to note that if any of you are interested in watching these finals being cast live, you can see all the action at www.day9.tv on July 26th at my countdown party. And if any of you are interested in attending the countdown party itself, you can get information at day9tv.eventbrite.com. So here we are going into game 2 between Whitera and IntoTheRainBOw. Whitera spawning in the bottom as the red Protoss. This was Whitera's map of choice. The loser does get to pick in this series, and we do have IntoTheRainBOw spawning as the blue Terran in the right corner. Remember, IntoTheRainBOw is 1-0 in his group, and Whitera is 1-1, so that means whoever wins this game is almost guaranteed a spot into the Final Four that will be broadcast live from the countdown party on the 26th of July. And whoever loses is going to be in a little bit of trouble. IntoTheRainBOw will be in less trouble as he still has one more match to play. He is 1-0, so if he loses, he will be 1-1, and will have to face QXC to see if he'll be able to advance. And Whitera is currently 1-1 in his group, so if he does lose this, that means he's going to have to be in some sort of epic three-way tie. And he will have to replay those 3 games to see who will get the second slot. So Whitera is now building a gateway in his main. Typical time, right on 12, and is scouting with a probe right off the bat. Wants to make sure he can find exactly where his opponent is and know exactly what sort of weird, funky opening IntoTheRainBOw's doing. And ooh, this is always a little bit of a giveaway whenever you see the barracks just slightly off to the side, because what this means is that a tech lab or a reactor is going to be going down there relatively early. Most players would make that tight if they were in fact just going for a regular wall-in and teching. So looks like Whitera knows exactly where IntoTheRainBOw is at this at this point in time, and a little bit of worker battling, and oh my god, IntoTheRainBOw taking out Whitera's worker. That's a bit of a blunder by Whitera. Whitera needed to pull that back, recharge those shields, and then he would be in good shape. Typical time, orbital command, no sort of funky cheese going on from Whitera, and one Marine popping out right now. Almost certainly another add-on coming down soon. So Whitera playing a little bit normally, but I will admit that's very easy to get shaken up when that sort of thing happens. When you do end up seeing, you know, your first worker die right at the front of your opponent's main. You didn't even get the chance to see if he had gassed yet. That's always a big problem, not knowing if that gas geyser's down, as early expanding is somewhat popular on this map. And oh, a hidden factory from IntoTheRainBOw wants to do a little bit more aggression in the early stages of the game. Looks like that was a little bit of a juke there. Oh no, there's finally the tech lab going down. A little bit delayed, but Whitera is certainly going to expect some sort of delayed marauder push and is not going to be spotting this factory anytime soon. These shrubs shroud those from being spotted by any scouting worker. And meanwhile, in Whitera's main, he is just doing everything normally, throwing down a pylon. Oh, if he had built this pylon a little bit to the left, he would have been able to see that there was a factory morphing. Looks like, oh, IntoTheRainBOw trying to do a little snipe on this probe. Whitera might be able to control it to get away. Ooh, nice feint there, trying to get out in time, and it does work for Whitera. No warp gate yet for Whitera. Oh my goodness, and getting a Stargate. We saw Whitera demolish QXC with 2 fast Void Ray plays. QXC favoring that very fast Hellion push, and oh my god, is this Starcraft 1? Is he going to float this factory into the main? Or is this, I dare say, a scouting factory? That'd be a pretty expensive scout. I would just, you know, spend a scan, but IntoTheRainBOw, he's a top Korean player. He gets to do that sort of thing. And look at Whitera just juking back once to see exactly what's coming. A small Marine Marauder push, and oh, look at this! Timing this landing so that it lines up with this push at the front. Beautiful aggressive play by IntoTheRainBOw. Warp gates are not finished yet. Chrono Boost will... Oh my god, Whitera forgetting to use his Chrono Boost. He's at 100%, saving that up. ideally for the Void Ray, but he's going to have to start spending that money fast, as there are units right up in his main, and these Zealots would have been easily able to deal with this push, but now that concussive shell is done, and these Hellions are popping out as well, this is a very hectic micro battle that Whitera finds himself in right now. There's the first Void Ray coming out right now. Whitera needs to begin chrono boosting that immediately. Look at these Marauders at the front controlling themselves beautifully, and at the same time, IntoTheRainBOw somehow finding the hand speed to pull this Hellion back. Second Hellion almost done right now, and where's the chrono boost on that Void Ray? Whitera in a total disorganization because of this weird, funky double lift timing, getting into his main, trying to target fire, but manages to shoot the Hellion, the wrong unit to fire at, and there finally is the chrono boost going down on the Void Ray. There needs to be some good response for IntoTheRainBOw to deal with that, as he now only has units that can shoot ground. Whitera trying to pull back to the backside. Can he get the Void Ray out? There's the first Void Ray. It does need to charge up before it can start killing these units off in time. Whitera needs to do the phasing trick, bouncing back and forth to kill off those units a little bit faster. The charge is complete for Whitera, so he finally is feeling safe in his neck of the woods and can begin mining in his main. But it looks like IntoTheRainBOw, I keep calling him Tester because IntoTheRainBOw is playing on Tester's account. IntoTheRainBOw not giving up with this harassment, knows that there is one Void Ray out and wants to ensure that he keeps Whitera pinned into his main. God, these two Hellions. Look at this beautiful split up by IntoTheRainBOw, ensuring that there's almost no way that Whitera can keep this Void Ray in a good position. This Marauder is almost done. Whitera does target it, and this Hellion still, getting some nice shots off on those probes, roasting this one last one, and somehow still managing to keep this alive. Ooh, nice Phoenix usage by Whitera, trying to eliminate that Hellion from moving around. Finally, it looks like Whitera's getting a little bit of a breather. Going back to IntoTheRainBOw's main, he has built a bunker, he is expanding, and ooh, that's one of the great benefits of doing this Hellion Marauder push. You can have the opportunity to build a starport. That part of the tech tree is already finished, so one Viking out. It does look like more air units coming out. Yes, Phoenixes and Void Rays being made for Whitera. He used this combination beautifully against QXC, but one of the reasons that combination was so good in Whitera versus QXC is because Whitera had those extra ground units that he could push the front and the back at the same time. It looks like Whitera trying to go for some sort of miracle kill at the front. There really is only these Vikings to defend, and the Phoenixes way far away up at the north end of the map. Oh god, this one Void Ray is getting completely isolated. These Phoenixes are in just the complete wrong place. Whitera going to try to target one of them, but not nearly in the right place. Oh my god, Whitera let that Void Ray die for almost nothing. With those Phoenixes together, the Vikings would have had to back away, but at this point, it looks like IntoTheRainBOw is setting up nicely for a solid mid-game push. Does have that command center coming, and meanwhile, back in Whitera's base, he's just making Phoenixes. Might look like a little bit odd of a maneuver, but Phoenixes in large numbers are decent against Vikings, and they do reinforce a ground army relatively well because you can lift up all the key units. But only one warp gate out right now for Whitera. IntoTheRainBOw in a much better position, thanks to that early harassment, that great factory lift. The factory does appear to be dead at this point, but look at IntoTheRainBOw ramping up the aggression again. Phoenix is in the back, lifting up some of these units, but it looks like IntoTheRainBOw doesn't even care. He's just going directly for the jugular, hitting Whitera's main. No sentry again. Can't possibly throw down a force field. Wouldn't even matter much because the Vikings are there to be able to land, and here are the Vikings landing, just progressing. The combination of the Vikings with the concussive shell and those Marauders is just too much, and Whitera says good game. So Whitera currently 1-2 in his group. His games are done for the Razor King of the Beta tournament, unless there is some sort of crazy three-way tie that we end up seeing where IntoTheRainBOw would have to go 3-0 in his group for that to happen. So currently, it appears that IntoTheRainBOw will likely be one of the members advancing from his group, as he is 2-1. The one player who has not played much of his games is QXC. We will see him on days 5 and 6, that is tomorrow and Friday. We will be going into Series 2, Huck vs. Tester, in just a minute. As usual, brief break between the games. See you in about 1 minute.